I went to work and accidentally fell in love with my boss. I've already developed feelings, so what should I do? I don't dress well, I'm not attractive. Is it possible to fall in love at work? My boss is already married. Welcome to the Love Strategist, a place where we don't just talk about love through emotion, but also examine it with the clarity of psychology and real-life experience. In adult life, there are feelings that were never part of the plan. You go to work, you focus on your career. You believe you are simply trying to become a better version of yourself each day. But then one day, in the middle of a high-pressure office environment and long meetings, you realize your heart is beating for someone it shouldn't, your boss. It is not a rare story. It is not a shameful story either. Feelings do not ask us what is right or wrong before they appear. They simply arrive when the conditions are present: closeness, admiration, attention, a sense of safety. And in the workplace, those elements often arise very naturally. But love in the office, especially when the man is already married, is no longer a simple, innocent emotion. It becomes a matter of boundaries, ethics, power, and long-term consequences. That is where the heart and the mind begin pulling in two different directions. At the Love Strategist, we do not judge you for accidentally falling in love. We also do not romanticize emotions and lead you into a path filled with hurt. We will analyze together why you are feeling this way, what is truly happening inside you, and which choices will help you preserve your value in the long run. Because loving is not wrong, but how we handle love determines our future. And now, let's go deeper into the story. I went to work. I accidentally fell in love with my boss, and he is already married. First, accidentally falling in love is not wrong. Emotions are not a light switch. You cannot turn them on when you want and off when you want. They do not obey logic completely, and they do not wait for your permission before appearing. Feelings form gradually, quietly, through every glance, every conversation, every moment of care that sometimes even you do not fully notice. In a company environment, everything becomes even easier to happen. You see that person every day. You go through work pressure, deadlines, stressful situations together. You are guided by him. Your efforts are recognized. Sometimes you are even praised when you do well. For the brain, these factors carry a very special meaning. Frequent presence creates a sense of familiarity. Going through pressure together creates emotional bonding. Recognition from someone in a higher position creates a feeling of being seen and valued. When these three elements appear at the same time, safety, admiration, and closeness, the brain can easily combine them and label it as love. This is not weakness. This is a completely normal psychological mechanism of human beings. We are wired to feel moved by someone who makes us feel protected, acknowledged, and connected. Especially if in your personal life, you are lacking one of those things, that emotion will become even stronger. But here lies a very important boundary, one that many people misunderstand. Love is a feeling. Choosing how to act is a responsibility. You cannot blame yourself for having feelings, but you must take responsibility for how you nurture or control those feelings. Between I have feelings and I decide to move forward, there is a very large distance. And that distance reflects the strength, value, and maturity of a woman. Feelings come naturally, but how you respond to them determines where your life will go. Second, your boss is already married. This is a very clear boundary. When a man is married, it is not simply that he has a wife. Behind the word marriage lies an entire system of commitments that many young people often do not fully understand. First, it is a legal commitment. Marriage is not just a verbal promise. It is recognized, protected, and bound by law. That means any relationship that interferes is no longer merely a private matter, but can lead to legal, financial, and social consequences. Second, it is a moral responsibility. A person who has entered marriage once chose to commit to someone else. Whether that marriage is happy or fractured, its existence is still a promise that has been given. When someone is willing to cross that boundary, we need to see clearly that the issue is not love being too strong, but the ability to respect a commitment. Third, behind him is a family. There may be children. There may be parents from both sides. There may be a social network that has been built over many years. When you step in, you are not only stepping into the heart of a man, you are stepping into a structure that already existed before you. And here appears an extremely important factor that psychologists call an unequal power relationship structure. Why unequal? He is the boss. You are the employee. He holds power over position, performance evaluation, and your income. He already has a family, which means he has a place to return to. You, if everything falls apart, are the one without a protective system behind you. In this model, you are the most vulnerable person. Reality shows that in most similar cases, the one who suffers the most is the third person. When things are exposed, the workplace often does not preserve the image of the employee, especially a woman. And the one who carries the deepest psychological wound is often the young woman, the one who invested more emotionally than her position allowed. A married man who enters an affair often still keeps his job, his status, and his reputation to some extent. But the younger woman is more likely to become the center of gossip, judgment, and mental pressure. The most painful part is not that the relationship ends. The most painful part is the feeling that you placed your heart into a structure where, from the very beginning, you were in the weaker position. Love is not wrong. But love within a system of imbalanced power and pre-existing commitment is always a gamble in which the more vulnerable person almost never wins. Third, I don't dress well. I'm not attractive. Let me tell you this directly, and I say it with the clarity of someone who works in psychology, not to hurt you. Successful men do not fall in love because of clothes. They may notice appearance, yes, but what makes them stay, what truly moves them, is not the dress you wear or the makeup you use. In a man who has experienced enough of life's collisions, the standard of attraction changes significantly. They are attracted to the energy you radiate. A woman who walks into a room with confidence, calmness, and without trying to impress often creates a much stronger attraction than someone trying to look prettier to gain attention. They are attracted to intelligence, not merely degrees, but the way you think, the way you respond to problems, the depth in the way you speak. They are attracted to gentleness, a kind of femininity that makes them feel listened to. Not challenged, understood, not controlled. And especially, they are attracted to the feeling of being respected. A man with status often lives under pressure. When he is with someone who makes him feel acknowledged, appreciated, he will naturally open up more. So appearance is not the main issue here. The deeper question is, are you undervaluing yourself simply because you think you are not beautiful? Or are you emotionally lacking and unconsciously searching for a safe figure to hold onto? This is the real question. A boss is often someone who is more mature than you, financially stable, decisive at work, possessing status and confidence. For many young women, especially those still building themselves, that image feels like a safe harbor. A man who knows what he is doing, who can make decisions, who can lead, creates a sense of protection. But you need to clearly distinguish one thing. Ideal does not mean compatible. A person can possess many attractive qualities, yet not be suitable for your circumstances, your values, or your future. Especially when that person is already married, that ideal image may simply be what you see from a safe distance, not the full reality of who he truly is. Sometimes, what you love is not the man himself, but the feeling he gives you. And when you realize that, you will begin to shift your focus from how can I make him love me to why do I need this feeling so much? That is the true beginning of emotional maturity. Fourth, is it possible to fall in love at work? Yes, many couples meet at work. That is completely normal. The workplace is where we spend most of our day. There is interaction, friction, support, companionship. Many beautiful relationships begin from working on projects together, staying late together, overcoming pressure together. Workplace love in itself is not wrong, but the difference lies in the structure of the relationship. When two people are on the same level, they are equal in power. Neither controls the other. Both single, they have the freedom to choose without violating someone else's commitment. In that structure, if they fall in love, they only have to face professional challenges, not moral issues. or power imbalance. But your case is different. Here, two very sensitive factors exist. First, a superior-subordinate relationship. When one person holds the power to evaluate performance, make decisions about work, influence income, and impact the other person's career future, the relationship is no longer equal. Even if both say they are together because of feelings, the power gap still exists quietly, and that gap always places more risk on the more vulnerable person. Second, the man already has a wife. This takes the relationship out of the category of a normal office romance. It is no longer two free individuals finding each other. It becomes a three-person structure, an emotional triangle. And in every triangle, at least one person gets hurt. The wife may suffer from betrayal. The man may suffer from being torn between responsibility and desire. But the young woman, the one who entered later, is often the one who endures the most silent and long-lasting pain. Because your position is not protected by status, not protected by legal recognition, and not protected by public opinion. You are the one most likely to be named and judged when everything falls apart. An emotional triangle is not the same as mutual love. It is a tense structure where emotions are never completely at peace. There is always comparison. There is always waiting. There is always insecurity. So the question is no longer, can people fall in love at work? But rather, are you willing to step into a structure where, from the very beginning, equality does not exist? Understanding this is not to extinguish your feelings. It is to help you clearly see the nature of the situation you are facing. And only when you see the truth clearly can you choose with maturity, not merely with temporary emotion. The most important thing you need to ask yourself, I am not giving you advice immediately. I want you to face yourself first. Because in complicated situations like this, outsiders can analyze right and wrong, but only you know whether you are strong enough. I will ask you 3 questions, and I hope you answer honestly, not based on rising emotions, but in your calmest state of mind. First question, if one day he truly divorces because of you, can you endure the looks from the entire company? Do not think in a romantic scenario like, he chose me because his love was so great. Think about reality. Colleagues whispering, stories behind your back, judgmental eyes. In the workplace, reputation is a major asset. Once you are labeled the third person, it is very difficult to completely erase it, no matter what the truth is. Are you strong enough to live in that atmosphere? Or will you slowly withdraw, lose confidence, and even lose motivation to work? Second question, if he only sees you as a passing emotion, can you endure the hurt? Be honest, in an imbalanced relationship, the one who invests more emotionally is usually the more vulnerable one. If one day he fully returns to his family, or says, I cannot leave my wife and children, where will you stand? Can you accept that you were once the secondary choice? Are you strong enough not to blame yourself, not to question your own worth? Third question, 5 years from now, when you look back, will you be proud of today's decision? Imagine yourself 5 years later, more mature, more stable. What would she say about this period of time? Thankfully, I kept my boundaries. Or, I wish I had been more clear-minded. This question is important because it takes you out of your current emotions and places you into a long-term perspective. Decisions related to morality and personal values often leave long-lasting marks on how we see ourselves. If, when thinking about all 3 questions, your heart feels heavy, if inside you there's more anxiety than peace, then, in truth, you already have your answer. Your intuition is not foolish. It is trying to protect you from a path where the risks are greater than the happiness. The issue is not whether you love or not. The issue is whether that love helps you grow or makes you pay with your own peace of mind. Expert advice. Emotions arise, and we cannot control that. No one chooses when they will feel moved, by whom, or under what circumstances. The heart does not ask permission from the mind before it begins to tremble. And having feelings does not make you wrong. It does not make you bad. But there is one very important thing that emotionally mature people always understand. We cannot control the appearance of emotions. But we can control the environment that nourishes them. Feelings do not grow on their own. They are fed by contact, by intimacy, by private messages, by glances that last a little longer than usual, by moments of accidentally staying after work. If you continue to remain in an environment rich in emotional stimulation, the feelings will not fade. They will gradually intensify over time. This is a very natural psychological mechanism. Repetition creates attachment. So what you need to do is not force yourself to stop loving. That is almost impossible. What you need to do is adjust the space around that emotion. You should maintain professional distance, communicate strictly about work matters, stay polite, respectful, but not overly intimate beyond what is necessary. Limit private messaging. Conversations outside working hours are where emotions grow the fastest. The more personal sharing there is, the easier it becomes to create the illusion of something special between two people. Do not seek personal attention. Do not unconsciously wait for him to check on you, notice you, protect you. When you stop seeking, you also stop feeding the emotion. Focus on developing yourself. When you are busy upgrading yourself, your skills, your appearance, your career, your healthy relationships, your energy shifts. You will no longer place all your mental focus on a man who is already committed elsewhere. Remember a very simple image. Feelings are like fire. At the beginning, it is only a small spark. If you continuously add wood, messages, private meetings, intimate conversations, fantasies about the future, it will blaze. And when the fire grows large, it becomes very difficult to extinguish. But if you stop adding wood, stop creating conditions, stop nurturing it, the flame will gradually weaken. It will not go out immediately, but it will go out. That is not running away from your emotions. That is how a mature woman protects her value and her future. Because sometimes the strongest thing is not daring to love at all costs. It is knowing when to stop, when your heart begins to step into a risky territory. I am speaking to you honestly, and I am saying this not to hurt you, but to help you see the true nature of the issue. If a married man actively moves toward you, it does not automatically prove that you are so special that he cannot resist. It is not evidence that you are superior to other women, and it is certainly not guaranteed proof of a destined love. The only thing it truly proves is this: he is willing to cross boundaries. The boundary of marriage, the boundary of commitment, the boundary of responsibility. In behavioral psychology, the way a person handles present boundaries is the strongest indicator of how they will handle boundaries in the future. A principled person maintains principles even in the face of temptation. A person who easily breaks commitments will always find reasonable justifications for their behavior. Today, he may say to you, "I'm not happy with my wife. I only find understanding with you. I have never felt this way before." Those words may feel very real in that moment, but you must distinguish between temporary emotions and long-term character structure. A man who is willing to cross boundaries with his wife today may cross boundaries with you tomorrow, because the issue is not the woman beside him. The issue is his ability to remain loyal to a commitment when facing temptation. If one day you become the official partner, are you certain he will not repeat the same pattern when he meets a younger woman? Someone new? Someone who makes his heart race again? The most painful thing is not being betrayed. The most painful thing is realizing the signs were there from the beginning, and you chose not to see them. I am not saying you lack value. On the contrary, I want you to understand that your value should never be measured by whether a married man is willing to take risks for you. True specialness is not about someone breaking principles because of you. True specialness is when a free, kind, and responsible man chooses you openly, clearly, and without hurting anyone else. Remember this: being desired does not mean being respected, and being pursued does not mean being protected in the long term. You deserve a love that does not need to walk through darkness in order to exist. How to step back while keeping your position in the company. Stepping back from an emotional involvement with your boss is not only a matter of the heart, it is also about protecting your career and your reputation. Stepping back the right way is not weakness, it is a sign of maturity. First of all, you do not need a dramatic conversation if nothing has become official. Start by adjusting your behavior. Keep interactions strictly work-related. Limit private messaging. Avoid creating intimate spaces outside working hours. When the environment that feeds the emotion decreases, the feelings will gradually cool down. Most importantly, maintain a stable professional image. Arrive at work on time, complete your tasks well, communicate clearly and calmly. Do not allow anyone to say that you act based on emotion. When your competence and attitude are steady, your position will be protected. If he takes the initiative to move closer, you only need a short and clear response that you want to keep the relationship professional. No need to attack. No need to mention his family. Simply affirm your boundary. A man who respects you will understand. A man who does not respect boundaries will reveal himself. At the same time, shift your focus back to yourself. Invest in your skills, your appearance, healthy relationships, and personal goals. When your life becomes richer, you will no longer place too much mental energy on a high-risk relationship. Stepping back the right way does not make you lose your place in the company. On the contrary, it helps you preserve your career, your reputation, and your self-respect. A moment of emotion may pass, but credibility and personal value are what stay with you long-term.